Welcome to the Season 2 finale of the Blister and Muck podcast. I'm Jenny Mason, your host and the creator of the Blister and Muck series. This week, the weight of the world falls on Blister's shoulders, and it weighs exactly 1 telegram. That's right, dear listeners. Today is the day. After many weeks of waiting, the telegram from the Furbanks family has finally arrived. Will they summon Muck to come live with them in Europe? Seems only natural that a family would want to be reunited after a tragedy. But will Muck want to go? Then again, will he even get the chance to choose? Blister has, after all, made arrangements to intercept the telegram. Will he share the message with Muck and thereby risk losing his apprentice? Weighty consequences are likely to compound if Blister opts to impound the telegram. Before we measure the outcomes, it may be helpful to first expound upon the rise of telegraph technology, which set the stage for our modern era of instantaneous electronic communication. Currently, we live in a time when invisible electric waves carry our typed and spoken words instantly across thousands of miles. What we say or type bullets from our devices into space, ricochets through satellites, and careens through fiber optic cables. In a second or two, we can send a text from California to Mongolia in the time it takes a bumblebee to beat its wings 200 times. We can even send instructions to the Mars rovers, or steering instructions to the Voyager 1 and 2 probes, some 14 billion miles from Earth. However, this kind of rapid, electrically broadcast communication was only made possible during the 1820s, 30s, and 40s. Before that, if you wanted to tell someone something, you either needed to see them face to face, or you had to write them a letter. Can you even imagine what that's like? Try to imagine no telephones or smartphones, no email, no radio, no television or streaming movies, no internet at all. Talk about living in a different world. So what happened in the 1800s to radically alter global communication? What catapulted humans into cutting-edge messaging systems? The answer has a lot to do with petrified tree resin. We call it amber, but the ancient Greeks called it electron. These same ancient societies noticed that when electron, or amber, is rubbed with wool cloth, it develops a kind of sticky magnetism. Just like when you rub a balloon on your hair and can stick it to the wall. For many centuries, people knew neither why nor how the petrified tree resin produced these magical results. They had a hunch, however, that whatever it was, this strange electric magnetic power was useful. For instance, besides sticking balloons to the walls at toga parties, this electric power could travel between objects. If you rub amber, you can then transfer a devilish spark to the nearest bystander. Just like if you scuffle in your socks across the carpet and touch your sister's arm, neck, or earlobe. Time passed, and scientists continued to tinker with the electromagnetic forces. They discovered it could be sent through wires. Flowing continuously through these wires, electricity could feed power into mechanical appliances. When pulsed through wires in bursts, the electricity could be converted into messages or signals. 1 pulse for yes, 2 for no. By the 1840s, telegraph machines in towns and cities sent and received these pulsing electric signals. A telegraph operator tappity-tapped a button which pulsed an electric current through the wires to a receiver in another location. That receiver stamped those pulses onto paper. A long pulse became a dash. A short pulse was a dot. Dot dash represented the letter A dash dot 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 was the letter B, and so on through the whole alphabet. So if you had an urgent message to send, you simply stopped by a telegraph office and paid the telegraph operator to tap it one letter at a time as lots of dots and dashes. Interestingly, letters were cheaper than punctuation marks like periods, so sentences in telegrams often end with the letters S-T-O-P. Stop. Over time, the telegraph gave way to the telephone, and then these wired communications gave way to our wireless broadcasting. Every iteration got faster and easier. Despite the speeds and convenience, electromagnetic communication has yet to cure the short circuit we all experience when it comes to communicating our true feelings. I'm sure you've experienced a time when you wanted to tell someone how you felt, but simply couldn't get the words out. Maybe someone made you angry, but you dared not tell them. Maybe they made your heart sing every time you saw them, but no way were you going to tell them that. In a world where texting a rover on Mars is easy, somehow speaking the truth residing in our very hearts remains extremely difficult. Blister's world may have a telegraph wire swinging in the Atlantic Ocean between the United States and Europe, making messaging between distant continents quick and easy. But that doesn't help him speak his truth. Perhaps the words needed to express some truths have not yet been invented. Therefore, we cannot pronounce them. Or maybe at times, the truth weighs too much to announce. Episode 18. No news is good news. The operatives departed the beach and traveled through the Buccaneer tunnels back to their headquarters under XS Capital Bank. All the way back, they rallied around Ooze and Horchata, cheering for their recovery. Blister lagged far behind. He reassembled and ruminated over the scattered details from Ooze and Horchata's testimonies until he was certain the imposter doctor was not only addling animals, but also using Yana's contraption to do it. Before he could devise an adequate excuse to sneak away to Tenebrous Hill, Fleet coaxed him aside.
Blister, the thing you've been waiting for arrived.
For a moment, Blister's stomach swung between his ankles. Fleet stretched his neck, and a crisp snip of paper tumbled out from his shell. With numb paws, Blister unfolded the telegram from Muck's family and read the cabled message. Deliriously delighted, stop. Certainly celebratory, stop. Please advise McAllister to procure passage to Europe, stop. Will remedy rapid reimbursement to M. Putresca, stop. Blister skipped the remaining lines, which seemed to be more joyous jargon. Affectionate garbage he didn't have time for just then. He mumbled some thanks and made for the nearest exit. Fleet snagged Blister's tail in his mouth and gently pulled him back.
I will be in mas grandes troubles if you don't give Muck that telegram.
Fleet, amigo, pal. Who do you think I am? Some tough-tail sewer rat? Of course I'll give Muck the message. Thanks for the favor. I won't let you down. I promise.
Blister rolled the paper and rushed through the tunnels. He ran so fast he nearly tackled Muck flat as he whipped around a corner. My, you are a racing rat, Muck laughed. Like me, you must be running to the refectory for a rapacious repast. before we serve our next shift."
Dung in the gutter! I forgot!
Blister raked his claws through his fur. Following martial training, the operatives were to scour the city, searching for one of Dr. Van Sangfroid's trap delivery trucks.
Row, 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 row.
His stomach complained, perhaps with hunger or maybe stress. "Oh, what mysterious missive are you carrying?" Muck tapped the telegram. Blister coiled his tail around the paper and concealed it behind his back.
It's a secret message that Madame Putresca needs me to deliver. I have to hurry, though. See you later. Ta-ta.
Once outside the caverns, Blister hitched a ride on a motor car. All the way to the cathedral, the sound of its wheels rumbling on the macadam roads seemed to chant, "Bad idea, bad idea." Blister disagreed, of course. He was merely abiding by the secret agent oath that protected Seltzer and Horchata. Hadn't Seltzer told him what a bad idea it was to share too much information with others? By keeping the telegram hidden, he was actually protecting Muck from harm. More than that, Blister was giving Muck more time to fully appreciate all his growth. The reformed Silver Whisker turned Tough Tail had not yet relived the good old days in the cathedral. Now that Rip had successfully deterred the wharf rats, Blister and the others would be safe moving back into the bell tower, assuming Blister found a way to evict Rip. He had not made any attempts to boot the big cat. He told himself that was merely due to the busy demands of his operative duties. But he would soon. Then, like a caterpillar, Muck would complete his metropolitan metamorphosis. After a few hours of life in the cathedral, he would know in his heart that going to Europe would be a huge mistake. No doubt, Muck had forgotten their old pirate life in the cathedral. That explained why he had failed to include Blister on his list of creatures deserving thanks. Not that Blister wanted or needed any thanks. He did, however, believe that the one-for-one and none-for-all credo deserved some credit for Muck's transformation. At the cathedral, he found Rip with a lit candle tweezed between his teeth, which he used to ignite other candle wicks.
Can't you see in the dark?
Blister asked.
Of course I can.
Then why light candles?
I could ask you the same question.
Blister scowled.
I simply enjoy a little ambiance in the evening.
Me too.
Rip sat with his tail wrapped around his paws.
I enjoy ambiance.
Blister bypassed the big cat and opened a candle box. He planned to store the telegram in a safe place until he deemed it the right time to hand it over to Muck.
What is that paper?
None of your business,
Blister said. Rip prowled over. He skewered the telegram with a claw and jerked it away.
Dung in the gutter!
Blister lunged for the paper. Rip kept the telegram out of reach as he read it.
Who is McAllister? And why do you have his telegram?
Muck Allister is the other rat who lives here. I am storing that very important message for him.
But why?
Because he asked me to. Now give it back.
Blister jumped for the paper.
Oh, I get it.
Rip grinned at him, which for a panther meant dipping his long upper fangs over his chin.
You don't want Muck to have this news. You are hiding it from him.
I am not. I am storing it. He's just not around right now. He's away, out of town. As soon as he gets back, I'll give it to him.
Do you know what I would do? I would shred it. Want to shred it?
Rip flexed his claws, his paw poised and ready to shred the telegram.
No, Rip, don't do that.
Blister, is that you? Muck called from the stairwell.
Who are you talking to?
Blister leapt for the telegram. He snatched it from Rip and pitched it inside the candlebox, just as Muck rounded the final bend of twisting stairs. Rip swiped at Blister to recover the slip of paper, but all Muck saw was a black panther swinging claws at Blister, who narrowly rolled out of range. "Blister, I'll save you!" Muck sprinted across the bell tower. All the while, Rip was too determined to pester Blister to pay any attention to Muck. He playfully hunkered into a pounce position. His pupils dilated. He was about to jump when Muck grabbed his tail and snapped it like a twisted rag. Rip's body whipped sideways, and before he could regain his footing, he had a pair of rat arms fastened around his throat, pinning him harder than gravity. He squirmed and wormed, but could not get loose. Rip yowled, hissed, and snarled.
Stop, Muck, stop.
Blister hurried over.
If you get him riled up, he'll start yammering about his killer instincts. He's harmless, really.
"But I saw him attack you," Muck protested.
We were just goofing around, really. He's staying here, keeping the wharf rats away.
"You mean to say the cordial conversation I heard you having was with this perilous panther?" Blister nodded.
You can call him Rip.
Muck freed Rip from the pin. Rip sprang up and smushed both rats to the ground. "Don't ever do that to me again," he snarled. The trembling rats shook a terrified nod. "Both of you must promise never to tell anyone about this little incident."
We promise,"
Blister spluttered, avoiding the electric black orbs of the panther's feral stare. "You swear too," Rip said to Muck. "I so solemnly swear," Muck shuddered. Rip strode away to sulk. While preening, he complained aloud about the uncivilized behavior of some animals. Blister and Muck got to their feet and dusted off. "I am endemically embarrassed," Muck said.
It's not your fault. I hadn't told you about Rip and all.
"Good thing you were here. Imagine if I'd come and all I found was a panther skulking around the belfry." Muck held his belly and laughed.
What are you doing here?
Blister asked. Muck took up his tail. Rather than knot it with his paws as he used to, he stroked it and eyed the ground. "Well, you kept bringing me all those tip-top tokens, and while you were out on an errand for Madame Putresca, I decided I, too, would visit our vacated villa and secretly surprise you by some means I had not yet determined."
You came here thinking you would bring me some kind of memento?
"I cleanly confess." The two rats shared a brief smile. In that moment, it seemed to Blister as if all his roiling fears about Muck going to Europe, or abandoning the one-for-one and none-for-all motto, or being Madame Putresca's favorite operative, all those feelings warmed and settled like jam on toast. He didn't know the name of this sensation or where it came from. He only knew that he liked it and never wanted it to cool. Can you guess what's imbued Blister with that warm, gooey, jammy feeling? What is the one thing that makes our fears melt away? I know what my answer is, and I bet it's the same as yours. Want to say them out loud at the same time? Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breakfast! Hang on, I think some of you said something else. So, whose answer was correct? We'll have to wait for the release of Season 3 to find out. We've certainly experienced an epic adventure this season. The operatives destroyed the Hurley and Pratt circus. Wexler teamed up with the imposter posing as Dr. Van Sangfroid. Wharf rats sacked the bell tower. Yana's contraption turned one of Blister's thoughts into a gloppy electric bubble. Muck turned out to not be a mass-murdering pyromaniac. Gorgeous George is living a better life at the zoo under Orville Whitmore's care. And Rip is miraculously restraining his killer instinct. But many questions still remain. For instance, if Horchata's testimony is correct, then why is Dr. Van Sangfroid's imposter trapping all kinds of animals? And what is the spinning star tree that both Ooze and Horchata saw while in captivity? How does it factor into the sinister schemes? And where is the Lady Yana? Did she stumble into one of those camouflaged electric traps? Another thing I'd like to know is... Oh, pardon me, dear listeners.
I say, I do hope we're not late, my good man. Now see here. My pocket watch reports we are precisely on time.
Doctors Bertram and Bartholomew Brink, the world's most celebrated and most published wildlife researchers?
See here. What's with all the formalities? Bertie and Barty will do just fine, my good man. My good gentlewoman.
Here. Quit blocking the doorway.
Now see here.
What does you think you is? Gargoyles?
My good man, rat.
That's right, Bile. Pound 'em.
Squash them's bookworms.
Serves 'em right for being a couple of sweaters with diamond patterns knitted on them.
That's Argyle, stupid. Gargoyles is them's monsters what perch on buildings and scare away guests.
Excuse us.
Make way for Her Majesty, the Dumpster Duchess.
All hail to Scab, the Empress of the Alley.
Sheesh, that was anticlimactic. You were right, Grime.
I told you we should have used coronets.
Spit, grime, gag. You know how you just told everyone to make way so that I could make a grand entrance? That includes you three knuckleheads. Move it! My goodness, this is quite an assembly. To what do I owe the pleasure?
Now see here, you invited us.
Them's is right. You says we is needed for Season 3, and here we is. I just needs a moment to warm up with me elocution exercises. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Oh, but Bile, we're still in Season 2.
You is what? Still in Season 2? When is Season 3?
Sooner rather than later. And do you know the best way to find out exactly when Season 3 launches? Visit blisterandmuck.com and tap the subscribe button. Was that a wharf rat in the sound booth? How did it disappear so fast? Did it eat my producers by chance? I mean, it better not have eaten my producers. Just the same, we'd better get out of here. Before we sign off, I want to sincerely thank all of you for listening. I hope that over the last 18 weeks, this show made you laugh or jolt with fright, or even stop and think about something you'd never considered before. Maybe it gave you a small bubble of time to escape the hardships rippling out of this global pandemic. If it did any of those things, or more, then I hope you'll consider what that escape is worth to you. Or laughter. What's the value you place on laughing during dark and stressful times? Whether it's $1 or many more, I invite you to visit the website and make a donation. Your generosity ensures we can return for a third and final season of the Blister and Muck podcast. Special thanks to Roland Rudzitis for serving up the Blister and Muck theme song, as well as the clever little waltz that opened today's show. Additional public domain music from Kevin MacLeod, John Bartman, and Mon Plaisir. Electromagnetic sounds from Waker One, That Jeff Carter, Mike Koenig, Construct a Beat, Napro 1, and Janosh Jr. Daniel Simeon made the Drippy Cave. Lisa Redfern chirped the crickets. Other sounds from the public domain. This podcast would not exist without the support I receive from my family, friends, and fans. One for one, and all for you.